Everyone, how are you? I hope you're all doing really well. I'm really sorry I couldn't post a video last week. I just wasn't really feeling that great. I think Ramadan and fasting had just taken a big toll on me and I was getting really tired. So I thought I'd take a skip for 1 week and return back with a really nice recipe. So I asked for your suggestions last week what you would want me to make. Some of you said a vegetable pulao, some of you said vegetable biryani, some of you said something to do with vegetables and rice. So that's why I decided today to make some, let me see if you can guess, vegetable biryani. So yes, we've done this before in the class and it was a really big hit and everyone really enjoyed it, and it's so simple. Anyone who hears biryani gets really scared that it's going to be just so scary, but it's not. It's just so simple because nowadays we have something like this, which is a biryani spice mix, which you can buy ready-made in supermarkets. And really, when you have this, you don't need any other spices. And behind here, you have very simple instructions of what to do to make the biryani. But obviously, I'm going to be using my own instructions and my own recipes. So it's up to you. You can follow the recipe behind the box, or you can just simply do what I'm doing, which is really simple. So as you can see, I've got a variety of vegetables here. I've got some aubergines, some potatoes, some carrots, and then I've got some peas here as well, some frozen peas. If you want to use fresh peas or even edamame beans or any kind of beans you have, then or peas, you know, you're most welcome. It's entirely up to you how you want to make your biryani or what kind of vegetables you want to put in it. These are the vegetables I have available. I purposely tried to order aubergines because I really like the taste of aubergines combined with potato in the biryani. I think it just goes so well. Right, so that's the vegetables here, and then I've taken out 4 cups of rice. And I'm going to soak these in water in about 10 minutes because you don't want to soak them for too long, otherwise they can get very soft. And then I've also got, for the paste, I've got 2 onions, 2 tomatoes, and then I'm going to be using a chopped tomato tin. This is optional. You don't have to, and you can if you want to. So usually people would either go for the tomato tin or the tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. I like the taste of fresh tomatoes in any kind of curry paste I'm making, whether it's for biryani or whether it's for curries. I think fresh tomatoes bring a really kind of oomph to it. And the chopped tomatoes, they're just so easy as well, and also they have that really rich colour of tomatoes, so they kind of bring a very nice vibrant colour to the dish. And then I've got some frozen garlic and ginger. If you don't have frozen, you can use the fresh. Fresh is obviously preferred, but it's just convenient to use frozen. If you're going to be using fresh, you just want to use the same quantity as you'll be using frozen. And so about 5 cloves of garlic and half a ginger. And then I've got some chili, some green chilies, and this will be ready to garnish. You can use this in the paste, or you can use it to garnish. It depends on your heat level, what you can take, what you can't take. And then I've got some yogurt, some fresh yogurt that's going to go into the paste as well to make it all nice and delicious. So first of all, we're going to start with chopping up the onions, and we're going to slightly fry these. Now the base of biryani is to make the curry paste, and to do that you need to fry onions in oil. So usually use a lot of oil to coat the onions and make them all golden, but we're going to be using just a little bit of olive oil, and that's all we need really. If you are used to using a lot of oil, you can fry your onions in a lot of oil. Once the onions are fried, before adding in anything else, just take out the remaining oil. You don't need it. You only need it in the beginning just to fry the onions. So if you are used to using a lot of oil for your curry paste, this is just a tip that once the onions are fried and they're crispy, they're golden crispy, take out the remaining oil because you don't need it anymore. Right? All right. So I'm gonna get a chopping board and start chopping up. Okay. So I've done 1 onion. I'm gonna do 1 more. You don't need to worry about the onions being too thin or too thick, because once the onions are fried and once all the tomatoes and everything are added in, they are gonna kind of mix up with and blend with all the other ingredients, and soon you're not even gonna be able to see them. You know, people think biryani can only be made with, you know, chicken or lamb or beef, but you know, you can make biryani with anything, with any vegetables. You can even make it with fish biryani. So you just need to think out of the box, you know, and think of, you know, if you're limited with ingredients, especially whether you're vegetarian or just generally because of the lack of, you know, not being able to go to shops, you just put all your ingredients in front of you and think what you could, you know, make up with that. But you have to think out of the box, you know, not your regular thing. Right, so I put a little bit of oil in the pan and I'm gonna put the onions in and start frying them a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my onions frying in the pan here. I've put about 60 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm just going to lightly fry these onions till they're golden brown. Now when you're making biryani or any kind of curry paste, you need to make sure that you time your cooking time, your preparation, because the onions, they take a lot of time, a good like 15 minutes to get golden brown. And the trick to the onions is that you want to cook them on low heat and let them really cook slowly. The more slowly they cook, the more they're going to dissolve in the curry paste, and you're not going to be able to see them, but taste them, but not going to be able to see them. They won't be sticking out. And so the trick to this is to cook them slowly on low heat. So it's best before you start cutting any other vegetables or anything, you cut your onions and you put them in the pan and let them slowly fry. So while you're doing this, while the onions are slowly cooking, you can get on with your other vegetables. Right, so we're going to go back and cut the tomatoes and all the other vegetables while these are slowly doing their magic. Right, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on the onions while I am cutting the tomatoes. And again, because the tomatoes are going to be cooking slowly on low heat for a while with the onions, I don't need to worry about what shape or sizes they are, because eventually they will become into a paste kind of form, and that's when we add in the yogurt and the spices, you know, to kind of expand the mixture. Right, so let me just cut these tiny bit more smaller. The softer the tomatoes are, the more better, meaning the more ripe they are, the more better they are for biryani. And really you would save these kind of tomatoes for, you know, salads, or to put in a sandwich or something. But I don't have any more tomatoes right now. I only have some more cherry tomatoes, but they're definitely not ideal for biryani, unless you obviously don't have a choice. So the onions still need a bit more time, so I'm going to put the tomatoes on the side and I'm going to get on with the other vegetables. So I'm going to do the carrots first, because the potatoes are going to go a little bit, they're going to fade in colour if they're sitting around for too long, unless I put some salt in them, which I don't want to do. And the aubergines are also going to fade in a bit of colour, and I don't want them to lose their goodness. Right. Again, with the onion, with the carrots, as you can notice, I haven't peeled the skin. You don't need to peel the skin. The skin is what contains all the goodness in it. And you can cut these in any shape or sizes. Now, with the vegetables, you've got to put them in an order of knowing how long they need to cook. So, you know, with the variety that we have here, we've got a potato, carrot and aubergine. We know that the carrot and the potato are going to take longer to cook than the aubergine, and the peas are almost already cooked anyway. They just need to be heated up a little bit. So before we put in the aubergines, we're going to put in the carrots into the mixture, because they will need a bit extra time. If we put the aubergine in at the same time as well, by the time these are cooked, the aubergines are going to be all mushy, and you don't want that. So again, you can cut these like this, or you can cut them into moons, up to you. I think I will actually cut these into moons. I'll leave the small ones as they are. And that way they will just be all equal in size, and they'll probably take less time to cook as well. You know, vegetable biryani is a really good way to incorporate lots of vegetables in one dish. and it's a tasty way of eating them as well, because sometimes you get kind of bored of just steaming or boiling vegetables. You know, you want to eat them a bit differently. You want to have them with a bit of spice, with a bit of curry kick, in a different way. So if you're not an Asian, if you're not from, you don't usually cook Asian cuisines, this is a really different way to have a spicy vegetarian meal. And it's also really healthy as well, because actually we're not going to be cooking the vegetables for too long. And that way they're still going to have their crunch, they're still going to have their goodness, and you're going to have a combination of different flavours all in one. And having a ready-made biryani spice mix pack just makes everything so much more easier. If you don't have this, or you can't get hold of it, which is, you know, really, you can get hold of it really easily, but if you can't get hold of it, you can use your own spices from home. Simple salt, pepper, cumin seeds, chili, some chili powder, cumin powder, and I think black pepper. I don't know if I said that or not. Yeah, so there's different brands. This is just one of the brands. There's Shan, there's a couple of other brands as well. But in the class we used, I'm not sure whether it was Shan, but we did use a biryani mix. And everybody was kind of surprised how easy it was to make a biryani. Right. Now the onions are nice golden and brown, and at this stage I've added in the tomatoes, and I'm going to let these cook on low heat. It's almost like you're making a passata sauce. You want the tomatoes to release their juice slowly, not quickly, otherwise you know, you're not going to have that delicious juicy tomato flavour. And while they are cooking, I am going to add in half a tin of the tomato, sorry, I've added in the full tin, the tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, and that's just going to help getting everything just, you know, kind of get to know each other. And I'm also going to add in the garlic and ginger cubes. Now you might be thinking that's a lot of garlic and ginger. Me and my family, we like a very strong garlic and ginger taste in our curries. And yeah, so I'm also making a bit of a bigger batch today. I would never make this much of a bigger batch. I'm going to be sending some to a couple of my family members, because biryani is not something that you will make every day, but when you do make it, you want to make a bit extra just to give out to, you know, maybe your neighbours or friends. It's like a little treat. Yeah, so yeah, usually a treat for biryani is when made with meat, but you know what? We need to make a difference, or we need to make a change in our diet at some point. So here we go, this is it. Right, I'm going to let this brew slowly and let all the flavours and juices release slowly and on low heat, and we're going to get back to our veggies. Now before I carry on cutting the veggies, I just want to show you that at this point I have soaked the rice, because it needs a good 20 minutes to soak, and not more than that. And can you see that there's like a creamy kind of colour on top? This is all the dust coming out of the gluten coming out of the rice. So you need to make sure you wash the rice a few times once it's soaked. Or you could do it before you soak it or after, but make sure you do wash the rice. Right, so we're going to cut the potatoes. Now potatoes, I try to leave a bit chunky, because some people like the potatoes a bit chunky. You can see the little patches, there were spikes, I just had to pull them out. So the big ones I will cut 4 times, the small ones I'm just going to cut them in 2s. So maybe cut this one as well. Yep. So not too small, not too big. Potatoes are really nice in biryani, really nice, but you don't want to put too many, because it kind of overpowers. You've already got ricey carbs, and then you're going to add in lots of potatoes, and if you add too much of something, it loses its essence, it loses its, you know, the beauty of its taste. So if I was to smother this biryani with lots of peas and lots of carrots, you wouldn't really enjoy them. So you want everything to be in equal amounts. Right, so now that this is done, we are going to do the aubergines. Before I do the aubergines, now can you see the colour of the biryani, how the paste, how amazing and beautiful and red it's looking. It's still in the cooking process. In a few minutes I am going to speed up the heat, and then we're going to move this around quite a lot, and that's going to help the tomatoes just to mash up a little bit, and then you will see the difference that it makes. Right, let's do the aubergines. Beautiful. Some people take off the skin of the aubergines, so I don't see the point of taking off the skin of the aubergines, because that's what really contains sort of goodness and flavour and beauty and colour as well. Okay. Again, up to you how big or small you want to cut them. Some of these are a bit too big, or well, one side is I think a bit too big, so I'm just going to put it a little bit more. I think that one as well. Okay. Just put that on the side and do the other one. Aubergines are the one vegetables that are so easy to cut, and sometimes you find it very therapeutic as well. It's like you're cutting through a sponge. And it's such a versatile vegetable. You can make so many things: stuffed aubergines, aubergine curry, aubergine sauce. And yeah, so that's it. That's how simple it was to just prep our vegetables. Okay, so now before I rank up the heat in the paste, I'm going to add in the Bombay mix, the Bombay biryani mix. And before I move it all around, I just want to show you how it's got all the little spices that you would need in a biryani. So like the anise seed, cumin seeds, dried coriander, cinnamon stick, you know, whole black peppers, everything, even apart from the small spices that are grind. So that's just excellent. Now I'm going to crank up the heat, and then within seconds you'll see how the colour is going to start changing, and it's going to start looking more like a curry mixture. And at this point you want to shake it around. This is a very important part in any kind of curry paste. You want to very aggressively move around the mixture for a good few minutes. And if you were making a meat biryani or a meat curry, you would continue doing this with the meat inside the paste as well, because that helps remove like the raw smell of the meat. Alright, I'm going to carry on doing that for a good few minutes. And you know, to some extent you could say you want to reduce the amount of the paste by moving this around in high heat. So you want the liquid to kind of dry out. Not too much though. That just looks stunning. Perfect. Alright, we're going to add in some yogurt. Now I've added in 4 spoons of yogurt in here. Now it's up to you how much yogurt you want to add in, depending on kind of the consistency of the paste you want, whether you want it thick. If you want it thick, then you know you want a kind of a dry biryani, but if you leave it a bit loose, you want kind of a spicy, saucy kind of biryani. Okay, the small pieces are just, yeah, can you hear that now? Can you hear all the oil boiling to the top? Now I kind of took all the oil out as well, but there's still a little bit left, and that's the release of the fatness from the yogurt, including there's some little bit oil inside the garlic and ginger paste as well. But don't worry, you can still take out any remaining oil you like. Okay, so we're going to keep stirring this for a good 3-4 minutes. Now, after about stirring for another 3-4 minutes, I've added in the carrots and the potatoes, because the carrots and potatoes need equal amount of time to cook. Now really, we're not going to be stirring these enough for them to fully cook, because once we've added in all the vegetables, we're going to put the lid on and put them on low heat and let them cook a little bit more in that. But still, we're going to leave a little bit of time left, because once we assemble all the biryani together, it's going to steam up in the pan for another 10 minutes. And if there's any remaining time left for the potatoes or the carrots to soften, they can during that time. Now at this point, if you want to, you can add in the green chilies, depending on kind of the spice level, the heat that you want, or you can just use the green chilies to garnish. Traditionally, you do add green chilies at this point, but obviously it depends on your heat level. So I don't want to keep my biryani too chili. It's already going to be spicy with the spice mix. I've added the whole mixture in. And that just looks beautiful. And we're going to let that cook for another, maybe about 2 minutes. Right, so as you can see, I've added in now the aubergines and the peas as well. And I'm going to mix everything together. Now at this point, you want to be quite aggressive on how you mix everything, because you want to make sure that the sauce covers all of the vegetables. And you know how I was mentioning that if you were making meat biryani, you would have to aggressively cook the mixture. You're going to do that at this point now, but not for so long. Maybe just half an hour time, maybe about 3-4 minutes. Just mix all the ingredients together and make sure the heat is on a high, and you keep stirring everything until all of the vegetables are coated really nicely with the paste. And how would you know that the vegetables are cooked? With the aubergines, they would shrink in size and they would look kind of like watery, but obviously they won't be watery. And the onions, you could just tell by sorry, the potatoes and carrots, you could just tell by touch that they're soft. Okay, so this mixture has been cooking for a few minutes and it's just looking really, really well. All the vegetables have been blended in really, really nicely. And at this point, I'm going to sprinkle some really nice greenish fresh coriander. We are going to leave some sprinkle on top once the biryani is done. And I'm also going to squeeze half a lemon. And this is really just to enhance all the flavours of the vegetables. Otherwise, traditionally you would use lemon just to squeeze on top when you're assembling all the biryani together in layers. Right? And I'm going to give that a mix, and then I'm going to put the lid on and let this steam for another 5 minutes for all the vegetables to cook on low heat, and then I'm going to quickly sort the rice out. Now the vegetables are just steaming on a side there. In a separate big pan, I am boiling some hot water. Now the trick to boiling rice quickly is to make sure that your water is really hot and bubbling before you put the rice in. Obviously everybody has their own ways of cooking, but this is just a trick that I've learned over the time with biryani. And the rice, make sure you soak it for a good 20 minutes, and this rice inside. Right, so now I am going to put in the rice in the hot water and just dip the bowl back in, take out all the remaining rice, and I'm going to let this boil. I'm going to boil it three quarters, so just leave a little bit of cooking left in the rice, so when we assemble the rice together and put it on steam, it can cook fully then. Now while the vegetables are steaming and the rice is boiling, I'm just going to show you the garnishes that I've just prepared to put on top of the rice once it's all assembled. So we've got some chopped coriander, some chopped chili, green chilies, and then I've got some one whole lemon. I'll squeeze some of the lemon in the curry paste, and I'm also going to prepare some food colouring just to sprinkle on top of the rice, and that gives it a traditional kind of biryani look. So I've got a little bit, like a quarter spoon of food colouring, and you can either dilute it in water or milk, but something that works really, really well is lemon. So you just squeeze in a bit of lemon juice. And what it does actually is that it makes the food colouring even more stronger than its actual colour, because the acid in the lemon kind of enhances the colour itself, the natural colours. Right, and then we're just going to give that a good mix and just leave it on the side for when we are going to assemble the biryani. Okay, so as you can see, all the vegetables are now done and the rice is also boiled. So now we're going to be assembling the biryani, and this is like the main event of the day. Right, so first of all, I'm going to be putting one layer of rice in the big pan. Right. It's not easy doing this with the camera on, but let's see whether we'll be able to survive. So obviously I'm using a bit of a big pan here. This is actually a bit of a trick to use a big pan when you're making biryani, and that way everything is spread out evenly and it comes out really, really nice. So we've got the rice here, and then we're going to put a layer of the vegetables. You know, you want to get above everything in the pan, a bit of the vegetables, some sauce, and this bit's going to be a bit messy, obviously depending on how much you're making. Okay, right, and then you're just going to do that one more time just to repeat everything. Okay, so we're going to put another layer of rice. And this time we're going to put all of the remaining mixture. And I'm just going to get the whole pan. And if you want, if you have a lot of mixture, what you can do is that you can leave some to have as a curry. But in this situation we don't need to, because we've got enough rice and enough vegetables. And this is the last layer. And I'm going to spread out the rice evenly and make sure it's coating. The last layer doesn't have to be that big. It can just be a small amount. And now we're going to sprinkle all of our things on. So I've got some mint leaves here, some coriander, and some chilies. Look how beautiful it looks. And then I'm going to sprinkle some fresh lemon and leave the lemon inside there, because just the zest will, just the smell will have its own aroma. And then I'm going to be sprinkling this. I should have done this first actually. Now it's coating on the leaves, but that's fine. Sprinkle the food colouring, and then we're going to put the lid on, and that's it. Our biryani is now done. Well, not actually done. It needs another 10 minutes to steam in the big pot for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to serve it on a plate and show you how it looks.